Hello everyone, welcome back for another edition of Virtual Teen Yoga. I'm your instructor Mike. How may I have you watching tonight? What I was thinking about doing for our practice this evening is a half hips and half spine series. A lot of people are going to deal with issues with these particular areas. The hips and spine are usually the first places to start breaking down as we age. So one of the best things that we can do to help prevent that is just making sure that these actual bones, joints, the connective tissues that hold them together, the muscles that are around them are loose and limber, right? More mobility equals less injuries. So let's just go ahead and jump into it, unless you need some props. A few props maybe you might need, like a yoga block if you have them. If you don't, pillows are a great prop too. You could always use a yoga strap if you happen to have one. If not, a hand towel is always pretty useful. Anything that you feel like you need, go ahead and grab it. And when you have it, go ahead and join us back in this practice. But when you are ready, you can go ahead and close your eyes. And we'll start our practice off just paying attention to the breath. I want you to breathe low in your belly, low in your diaphragm. And if you'd like to double check if you're doing this correctly, place a hand on your stomach below the belly button. You'll feel the stomach expand when you take an inhale. It's going to contract when you take an exhale. And this is belly breathing. It's a breathing technique that I recommend for our practice because it's a slower paced practice and we want to slow things down. Breathing low in your diaphragm is going to help that. It's going to slow the heart down, slow the nervous system down. It also slows the mind down. And again, what we're doing here today is a yin yoga practice. And yin yoga is a very gentle, passive style of yoga where you hold slow, static postures for an extended period of time. So we're going to hold poses for a while, roughly probably about 2.5 minutes with each individual pose, to work into not only our muscles, but the connective tissues, our deeper tissue that actually hold muscles, bones, and organs in place and in line. How we do it, again, by holding poses for a while. But know that the 2 to 3 minute mark that I give you, times are arbitrary and subjective. So if your better judgment tells you to come out of something early, it's fine. You don't have to hold the pose the entire time. But if you feel comfortable and you want to hold it the entire time, or maybe even a little longer, that's up to you. My advice to you is to let experience be your guide. And this means let your body tell you what you need to do. But if you ever feel like you need some assistance during the practice, always listen up to the modifications and the options that I suggest to you. There may be certain poses that don't work for you, and sometimes it just doesn't because that's the way your body is. And it's not a bad thing. So sometimes we just need to listen up to certain options and modifications that we can throw into our practice to make it more effective for us as the individual. When you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. And we'll start our practice off loosening up the hips and the spine. So go ahead and just lay on your back. Bring the knees up to the chest. I want you to rock up and down on your spine, side to side, circles, crack your back if you can. Cracking is a good thing. Oh, there it is. You can obviously tell I needed that this morning as I'm filming here. So with this being a half hips and half spine kind of practice, let's start off with a forward bend. We'll start with the spine. And the first option that I'm going to suggest to you is called butterfly pose, one of our most common that we do here. We have the soles of the feet brought together in front of you. You fall in round in the pose best you can. Get the inner thighs, you get the back. You also get, sometimes you'll get up all the way to the back of your neck. Depends on how far you round your head forward. But the main intention, inner thighs and lower back. And relax into it. Don't pull, don't yank with all your might to get your head down to your feet because you'll probably overstretch. It's like almost guaranteed. So don't worry about that, right? Let gravity do the work for you. Now if you're here and you're feeling all these stretches, inner thighs and back, then you're fine. But if you say, it kind of feels like it's more my knee that's getting this or my hips, anything that's kind of localized around a joint where it feels like you're literally stretching the joint, you're going to want to do something else. Dragonfly is going to be your better option here. We stretch your legs, you lean forward. Inner thighs, you get the back as well. Sometimes you get that bonus hamstring stretch 2. It's really up to you as to how you're going to approach this. I'm really never that picky about it, and nor should you be. You know, every time we do a practice, our body's a little bit different, so some days you need more of one pose versus the other. You know, you just never really know until you get to the practice. And with this being a half hips, half spine kind of thing, you know, feel free to kind of diverge from what I'm telling you. If you have another pose in the back of your mind that you would rather do, that works for your inner thighs and back, then by all means go for it. You know, there's no right or wrong to this. As long as you're getting the stretch that you really need, that's all I care about, and that's all you should care about. When you're ready, we'll say it's time. Just use your hands real slow. Push yourself out, lean back, lay down, and just take your time while you're here. You know, no real rush to go anywhere. Just try to feel the rebound of the pose. You know, how different do you feel after holding a forward bend like that for a couple of minutes? We're going to stretch our hamstrings next, and we'll do both at the same time in caterpillar pose. I'll show you from both angles here, profile and straight on. But caterpillar pose, you have both legs out, and you lean forward. You're going to grab something here, and that could be anything. That could be just grabbing your knees, your shins, around the ankles, around the feet, maybe even the toes, if you can get them. If not, though, don't worry about it. It's not a toe-touching competition, so don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But the intention of this is to stretch the back of your legs and your back, right? So you get nice broad stretches throughout the entire, essentially, backside of the body. Now, if you can't grab your toes, you can get this bonus calf and Achilles tendon stretch. That's back of the shin, back of the heel. That is extra. It is not a requirement. But a lot of people, you know, if they're pretty bendy, they're already here, you might as well, right? Just a little bit of pull. Never like yanking as hard as possible. It's such a common mistake in yoga. So with this in mind, you know, if you're feeling the pose, you're good to go. But if not, you could always modify this. You know, some people, what they'll do here is they'll let their knees bend. You know, you let the knees bend. Actually, I'll show you inside here too. When the knees can bend like this, you can round more forward in the pose, right? You can work your back a little bit more if this is how you're going to approach it. But if you're pretty bendy and you're like, I feel nothing because of that, then just lower the feet down, right? Don't worry about what you look like. Everybody's going to do it differently anyway, and it's, you know, it's just a part of this. Everybody's body is different. You know, somebody who is, you know, like 6'8" isn't going to do yoga the same way as someone who's 5'2". It just doesn't work like that. And in that particular case, you have to take into consideration things like proportion, and that's just, it literally means how long are your bones. You know, people who are generally taller obviously have longer bones, whereas somebody who's shorter has shorter bones, right? And that's just common sense right there. And that's something that I encourage you to think about when you're doing this. You just use common sense when you're doing it, so you don't hurt yourself, so you don't disappoint yourself with expectations of, I need to do this in a certain way. Use your hands when you're ready. Slowly push yourself out, lean back, lay down. Taking your time on that. There's no rush to go anywhere. Just really, again, try to feel the rebound effect. How different do you feel after holding that pose for a little bit? Especially the back of your legs. Take the note on that. We're going to stretch our IT bands next. And with the IT band, the outside of your leg, there's a lot of variables that come into play in how you're going to do this. So try to listen up to some of the modifications that I suggest, because there's going to be quite a few of those. But the pose I'm going to recommend is called swan pose. They also call it pigeon if you've done any other style of yoga. But you have one leg out in front here, right? You got one leg behind. Now, how you approach the back leg, there's a lot of differences here, but maybe just set yourself up in the general area and I'll talk you through this. So you start leaning forward over the front leg. But what you can do is play around with the position of the front leg. Like, is your shin parallel with your mat, the top of the mat? Or are you trying to bend your knee so you can bring the foot in close to the groin? I would say whatever protects your knee and hip, that's what you need to do. So maybe play around with both of those. Leaning into the hands, elbows, head on a block if you can get there, or a pillow if you need it, or head on the floor. You can play around with where you lean, whether it's directly over your knee, or maybe if it's more over your shin. Sometimes, every now and then, I'll take my shoulder and I'll try to rest it on the inside of my knee here. It can help me relax into it. The back leg though, big variable. Perfectly straight behind you, could be, or maybe you have it somewhere in the middle, or maybe you're bringing it around you to the side. If you see here, when this back leg comes around like this, it allows your front hip to turn out more. It could make it more comfortable for your front hip. This is the side that we're trying to stretch, right? This is the leg. So if it's more comfortable to bring your back leg here, around you, go for it. But if it's more comfortable to have it straight behind you, go for that too. You know, I kind of go both ways on that. If I'm doing that modification where I try to get my shoulder on the inside of my knee, I'll have my back leg come around. But if I'm trying to lean directly over my knee, I'll usually have my back leg straight behind me. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just a different experience. When you're ready, there's your time. Just real slow, let yourself out. You can lay on your back or lay on your side. Just take a moment here. Really try to relax. Side when you're ready, whatever side you happen to be on, just make sure it's the other one. But it's swan pose, pigeon, and it's the outside of the front leg here getting this one. My left leg happens to be in front right now. So a lot of modifications that we had talked about, like the shin could be parallel with the top of your mat, or you could bend your knee to bring your foot in close to the groin like so. Just whatever protects your hip and knee, please do that. Again, I can't look at you and tell, so you got to trust your instinct on that. Lean forward, hands, elbows, head on the block, head on the floor if you can get there. If not, though, it's fine, right? Don't beat yourself up if you can't physically get there. Back leg could be coming around you to the side, or you bring the back leg, have it perfectly straight behind you, or somewhere. It doesn't have to be like perfectly straight, because again, we're not focused on alignment. We're focused on functional perspective. Do I feel the stretch, right? Can you wave your hand to the outside of your front leg and say, yeah, whole thing right here, getting that stretch. And if not, then play around with those modifications and those different options. You'd be amazed at what slight angle adjustment in your pelvis can do for a stretch. And to share a secret with you, the secret of yoga is how do you tilt your pelvis into these poses. And all of these modifications I've suggested have something to do with that. Now you don't have to know the exact details, like is it tilting forward with an anterior tilt or a backward tilt with posterior tilt. Don't worry about that. But just thinking to yourself, you know what, okay, so what if I lean this way? What if I go this way? What if I have my back leg this way? Or if I put my arms this way? You know, who knows? All those options can create a significantly deeper stretch, but you just got to be okay with experimenting. When you are ready, there's your time. Just really slowly, making your way on out. Lay down for a moment. Short breather. we're going to do a quad stretch and a twist at the same time. It's called cattail pose. And before we get too deep into it, just know the quads are your upper thighs, right, the front of your legs. And we're also going to be doing a twist, so it's going to be stretching the side of your body. Cattail pose, let's do it on the same page because it's really easy for me to explain it versus just throwing you into it. So we're going to do a twist. We're laying our back, so let's twist left. So our legs are going to go to the left and lay on the floor. This is going to be the pose for now. And you should feel the lower right side of your back, right? Broad stretch here on that lower right side. The quad that you're going to stretch, the leg that you're going to stretch, it's going to be your left leg. You're going to grab your left foot with your right hand. And you're going to pull this leg back. So let me just show you here. My right leg's up here so I can make the example. Right, so this left leg right here, this is the one that's going to get the stretch. And the more you pull that left foot, the more you get. So a little bit of muscular effort is going to be required. I'm doing this in a certain way. I'm actually kind of modifying it where I'm laying more on my side versus laying on my back. And you can do it both ways. If you lay more on your back, you are going to get a little bit more of a twist for your side body. But if you lay more on your side, I'm laying more on my left side now, I'm dialing up the intensity of the quad stretch, sacrificing the twist a little bit, but sometimes I like a little bit more of the stretch for my quad as opposed to the twist for my side body. No right or wrong, just a different way to approach it, and I encourage you to experiment with that as well, because again, you just never know. But some days you might say to yourself, you know, I need more from the back, I need to do more of a twist. Or some days you'll say, yeah, I'm tight in my legs, I need more quad stretch. Just take it as it comes. You know, come into your practice with zero expectations. That's something I would always encourage you to do. You can always come in with a mindset of, you know what, I know I'm tight in this area, I know it's something I need to work, but try to not think about how exactly you're going to do it until you get there. You know, don't come in and say, I'm going to do this pose. This is the only thing I'm going to do, and if I don't do it, then I'm not doing it right. Because that's not true. There's several different options that you can do. So just try to think to yourself of, just functionally speaking, what feels best in the moment. And if you're ready, we'll say it's time. Just really slowly unwinding, laying down here. Take a moment. We're going to do the other side. You're ready. And if you're on the same page as me, you're twisting right now. That means laying on the back, knees up to the chest, legs over to the right, and you just lay them on the floor, right? This is our pose for now. So you're going to stretch the left side of your back, right? Left side body. But you're going to stretch your right leg. So you're going to grab your right foot with your left hand, right? So go ahead and reach back, grab that right foot, left hand, there you go. You can approach it like you did on the other side, whether that was laying more on your side or laying more on your back. You know, again, laying more on your back equals more twist for the side body, but laying more on your side equals more quad stretch. It's just whatever you're looking for, really. And just breathe with it. You know, some deep inhales, some deep exhales can go a long way in practice like this. And really, not just this practice, but in everyday life. You know, it's your breath and your current emotion are a direct reflection of each other. So when you're calm, your breath is calm. When you're anxious, your breath is anxious. And we want to make sure that we can regulate it as best as we can. And being conscious of how you're breathing is important. And I don't mean conscious as like you're awake. I mean as in you are aware of it. And it's something you can practice at all moments of the day, just being aware of your breath. And in fact, that's really the essence of yoga right there. It's being aware of your body in that moment. And every moment it changes. And if you are ready, we're going to say it's time for the side. Just really slowly unwinding, taking your time on out here. Short little breather, and we got one more pose, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. Our next and last yin posture is going to be a back bend. It's going to be the Sphinx pose. This is where you lay on your stomach and you prop up on your forearms and your elbows, and this is it. It's not really a stretch or anything. You should just feel that dull pressure in your lower back and the lumbar spine. That's all it should be. Dull and gentle. Anything sharp that comes from this, you lower down. Right? Don't push through it. It's not going to be therapeutic for you. And again, breathe. Try to ease into the bend. Right? I want you to feel that dull pressure, because this is how you know that your spine, your back, is going to its full range of motion. And that's what really all of this is about. It's about making sure that your hips and spine stay at their full range by taking them to their full range. If we don't move, our body atrophies, which means it just kind of like decays in a sense. Everything tightens up, especially with something that's called contracture. And again, essentially this just means that every moment of the day when you don't move, your body's tightening up, right? So imagine not moving, or really moving, for years and years and years on end. And that's a dangerous thing for us to do. It's arguably like the worst thing that you can do to yourself. When New York Times years ago put out an article that said, "Is sitting the new smoking?" I 100% agree with that statement. It is such a bad habit for you to constantly sit all day, every day, and not move. And we're in physical bodies for a reason. We're meant to be physical with them. So do any activity. You don't have to do yoga every day, but you got to do something every day, just to reverse that process of contracture. And if you're ready this time, it's real slow. Lay on your stomach, take your time there. After a back bend, it's going to feel really nice to do a gentle forward bend. So something like a child's pose is going to be appropriate for you. We are at the end of our practice. And if you're ready for Shavasana, corpse pose, go ahead and lay on your back, or you can lay at your side, or even on your stomach. You can sit upright like you're in meditation. Just wherever you're comfortable, go there and close your eyes. Because there's nothing to see at this point, just more to feel and pay attention to. I want you to focus on your breath. Breathe low in your belly, low in your diaphragm. Turn your senses and your awareness within, and for these last few minutes, just observe. What differences have you made with your 25 minutes of practice? No formal ending to our practice. Stay in your Shavasana as long as you like. That's officially all that I have for you. Thank you all for watching, sharing your practice with me. It's been my pleasure.
Namaste.